says it's recording, so I assume it is. This is going to be a test podcast. Yeah. Hopefully we won't do it like for 30 minutes and then find out it didn't work. So, I'm like just got out of the shower. So I'm like, there's still like water running down my face.
No, you're good. I literally just got back from taking my dog for a 30-minute walk.
Mm-hmm. So pretty empty outside. Is anybody else out there walking?
There's people that are just walking. They're not walking. Like there's one other guy walking his dog, but there's some people whenever I've been walking the last couple of days that are just walking, I think, just to walk. So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. It's like 2 or 3, but it's like a ghost town. It's creepy, especially I don't know what the weather's like in Nashville right now, but it is kind of crappy outside here. So to have it empty and then like it's dark and gloomy, it's kind of creepy.
We had like tornadoes come through yesterday too. So we just recently, a couple of weeks ago, had tornadoes that like destroyed a good chunk of the city. And then yesterday we had some storms. It wasn't as bad, but like they had some touchdowns. We're okay, but it's it's hard for people that just had their homes destroyed to have to deal with that again.
Yeah, of course. It's frustrating. I move.
Yeah. So as far as so today we wanted to talk about just like training, like equipment and gear and things like that. So on that point, I wasn't gonna start out this way, but I decided to add some more equipment to my home gym because that's where I'm gonna be now. And so we went to my wife and I went to Academy thinking, oh, I'm just gonna pick up a couple of plates. Empty. Academy Sports is empty. There's like they didn't leave a dumbbell, like not even a small one. Then I went to 2 Walmarts, empty. Everybody it's like the toilet paper all over again, but now not with weights. But instead with weights.
Your heart's breaking just so many times over. First it was the toilet paper, then it was the meat, now it's the weights.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. I'll tell you what happened. What happened was it's like my personal opinion is that I think what happens is there's a lot of people that potentially want to work out but never have. And then they heard, oh, all the gyms are closing. So they're like, maybe one day I'm going to work out. So I'm going to go buy as much weights as I can. And it's like, because there's no way it's not that many people that work out in general. And then for all the weights to be gone, I think people are just buying them just to buy them, like hoarding, like they did with the toilet paper. That's what I think.
Yeah, well, I also know like a couple of my friends who are like huge gym rats. Like they went out and they like panic bought dumbbells and plates and stuff because they wanted to be able to work out. Like they've all set up like their own home gyms now. Like they all bought bars,
Yeah.
resistance bands, like everything. So I know there are people who are like apocalyptic gym training because they're like, I'm gonna get a workout in no matter what.
Right. So, I mean, like I got a bench, like a small bench, and then we got like a curved like bar. That was pretty good because we had like a straight bar. Again, like I couldn't just couldn't get weight. So what I did was I got like a 20-pound weight vest. Have you ever trained with anything like that, like weighted
No,
clothes?
I haven't. I get scared with weighted vests just because, like I said, my shoulder injury. So I don't want to have like a lot of weight added on my upper body that I'm not used to. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Hey, refresh me on that shoulder injury. What happened?
remember in our first podcast when I told you that I had, like, I was training at the gym improperly and
Oh, yeah.
table like flies. And oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I
Table
just went
flies.
deaf for a second. You're good.
And like I did something where I rotated wrong and it just like it killed my shoulder and it killed like my shoulder blades. So ever since then I'm like overly cautious about adding any kind of weight
Yeah.
to my shoulders. Like even now when I was first starting my training program, like I was using the really like 2-pound dumbbells, like because
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be super cautious about that old
Yeah.
injury.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's probably for the best for you, but for me, I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Do
Why?
you, this is weird. Do you have a dog?
I do. Can you hear it?
No, 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 no. I was wondering because my dad trains his dogs with weighted vests sometimes.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought you were asking because like you could hear barking or something,
No,
but okay.
I was thinking of doing it for my dog because I want her to like build up some muscle.
Some strength. I mean, that might be a good idea. I don't know. Like, how big is your dog?
She's pretty big. She's a pit bull Labrador mix,
Mm.
and so she was really overweight as like for her size because and she's a mix. She's a little bit shorter, and then she's got like really broad, like she's got a really big upper body and then like a really
Hmm.
small tuck. So it was just like really awkward when she was overweight. She was like 30 pounds overweight when I adopted her, and then
30 pounds overweight. Where did you get her from?
New Mexico, a shelter in New Mexico.
Well, at least that it sounds like they were feeding her. At least that's good.
Yeah. Um, and so we just finally got her down to like a good weight. She's like 60 pounds now. And so now I'm like, okay, well, like now that she's lost weight, I want to get her like ripped.
The dog is gonna be shredded.
Yeah, that's seriously. I used to post pictures of really ripped dogs on my Facebook and be like, look, I'm just trying to get as strong as this dog.
Dude, have you seen the blue, like what is it, the blue Belgian bull or something like that? They're like hold on, I'm typing in. They're like naturally like extremely muscular animals, like just like they look like they're on steroids, like Belgian blue bull. If you type it in, you'll see it. It's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. It has so much muscle. It's got striated glutes. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
I would legit. Okay, this is a little off topic from what our original topic was supposed to be, but I was legit like,
It's all right. No
how can
worries.
we build up a dog's glutes?
Um, I have no idea. I guess maybe doing squats. I like what's funny is my wife was was like just playing around initially, but now like she started doing it with our dog where she would like get up on her back legs and they would squat together. So I mean, I don't know if it actually does anything for the dog, but I don't like because I don't know how the anatomy of a dog works. Like if that's a legitimate thing.
I squat my dog. Like I'll pick her up and I'll.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I guess the thing I was doing was I make her jump like onto benches, so that
Hmm.
she works like her back legs.
Yeah.
But
I think for animals, like a lot of that is like not a weight thing, but it's more of like just movement thing. Cause I think if they move, they gain muscle, you know, like it's not just cardio for them, you know, but I mean, I don't know, you know, I'm not an expert. So I just play one on this podcast, but
yeah,
so
I'm just curious because when you said weight vest and that you train with, I was like, I think he has a dog. I wonder if he
yeah.
trains with his dog with a weight vest.
No, I don't, but I mean, that's a good idea. I think though the weight vest that I got for myself would be too heavy for it because my
Yeah,
dog's like
my,
35 pounds.
yeah. My dad said start with like 5 pound vests and then
Yeah, yeah.
from
Might be
there.
a good idea. I mean, I might try it out. I'll let you know how it goes. You know, if my dog like suddenly like, you know, gets like super strong,
Nope.
jacked, yeah, yoked. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So anyways, about this training thing, about the equipment and stuff, like what do you so I was so a while back I got these things called X bands. I mean, it's like there are a bunch of companies, you know, make bands, but this particular one was X bands. I'm looking at it right now, and I got this one called the Green Hulk, which is like supposed to be like 100 pound tension, you know, which is like, and it's amazing. Like you can put it on Smith machines and stuff like that. So like wrap it around, you know. Like what is your take on bands? Do you like them?
I love resistance bands. I've noticed a lot of difference when I was training with resistance bands. Obviously, that's like for me, I would target my glutes, and I used to actually teach resistance bands like sculpting class. So I
Hmm.
love them. Unfortunately, it's been really hard for me to find good quality bands. The bands that I used to use for my class, they were the skills bands, the SKLZ bands. I think I
Hmm.
just got them off of Amazon, and they're the normal like loop, and they're not. They're the rubbery texture, but the thing that
Hmm.
I find wrong with it, I snapped one of them like when I was working out. So I don't like that at all, but also like the cloth bands, I haven't gotten to try yet, but there are some that are out on the market that I would really be interested in trying.
Yeah.
And then I like the resistance bands, like with the handles that you can like attach to gym equipment and everything like that. They're so good for mobility exercises, for doing like PT mobility exercises if you have an injury, like say on your ankle, and then even just to do at home upper body work. I love them.
Yeah. I I think I'm thinking about bands differently because I need to like start thinking more of them as like as not a heavy like movement exercise, but more of like you said, mobility. Because some of them, like you said, the one that you snapped, like I'm sure it's a similar one that I'm thinking of, which is which is those real thin ones that you said they're kind of rubbery. I feel like if I put too much pressure on them, they're gonna snap.
Yeah.
And
Have you
then I
tried cloth ones? Have you tried any cloth resistant?
I don't even know what they look like. Like what is it? Let me
Yeah,
see.
let me pull it up.
Cloth resistance bands.
Yeah, it's hard to, yeah. They're just like they still have the rubbery texture. Like if you just literally Google it,
Oh, I see it.
yeah.
Okay.
But they're supposed to be thicker, so that way they're hard, like way harder to snap.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
I see it. Okay.
yeah, I see them like online at Walmart, and I
It's
want.
not bad. The prices aren't bad. Like this,
Oh,
the ones I'm looking at them are like $15 for two of them. That's
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
cheap.
And I know there's some, online influencers that have their own for like $25, like whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I really love them, and honestly, too, they're good. Like obviously for women who want to train glutes, like you do leg day 2 to 3 times a week at the gym.
Mm-hmm.
But then also you have to do isolated movements too. So bands are really good for glute isolation movements specifically, and also what is it, ankle weights.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who want to do isolation movements, I definitely think resistance bands are really helpful for that too.
Yeah, it seems to be like resistance bands is going to be like the number one thing that probably goes up in sales because outside of like just dumbbells, that seems to be like the number one thing that people are going to be using because
Yeah,
I
I
mean
love.
I mean there's not really like you don't have that's the easiest thing to get with the most like benefit, use from it. So
Yeah, and the cool thing that I loved about the really big rubbery ones too
mhm,
is that you could do the assisted pull-ups with those. Like I said, for me, I'm very careful with my shoulders, but I don't like to use the assisted pull-up machine all the time because it's hard for me to jump in weight because the weight jumps by 20 pounds, and for me that can be too big of a
that's
jump.
significant. Yeah, yeah. I mean 20 pounds is significant if it's especially if you're like if you're at a point where you're pushing everything you can into what you're doing, so it's like you don't have much more to give and then you go up 20 pounds, that's very tough, to
Yeah.
try to do.
So I'll try, like, if I can't do that, 20 pounds difference, at least not yet. Like I'll at least try to do the assisted pull-ups with the bands. For whatever reason, it makes it so much easier for me. And I'll do like a couple of them. But I love that way of doing assisted pull-ups sometimes. It's a nice change up.
What do you, I'm sorry, say that again, what are you doing assisted pull-ups on, like how do you do it?
Like it's one of those really big, long, rubbery resistance bands. So what you
Hmm.
do is you like tie a knot at the top, and it obviously varies for your height.
Hmm.
You have one foot on the bottom of the band, like it's connected to your heel,
Okay,
and it helps, like when you have the tension, it helps to pull you up.
but you're doing the pull-up itself, right? Like you're holding on to something doing a pull-up.
Hmm. Hmm.
How are you going to do that at home?
Well, I currently do not, but my boyfriend used to have the thing where you could connect the
Clip it
pull.
onto the to door frame.
So
Yeah.
like you could do it like that, but when we moved, he forgot he has the pull-up bar, but not the part that clips onto the
Oh
doors.
yeah. Well, that's kind of useless then.
Yeah, so
But so the funny thing about that, I did a quick video like on, well, not on that, but it included that. And I've seen people like jump on those, like like when you're they're hanging on, and they're like, oh, they look secure, and then when they jump on them, they like unlatch them with their weight, because they're, obviously they're jumping on it.
Yeah.
So, and I've seen people like fall on their back from like that distance. Oh, it's so crazy. I was like, but yeah, and sometimes like those frames will, bend to over time. So the door frames. So
Yeah.
I would
Well,
switch
you
it up.
pay for it. Pay
Hmm?
for your free door frame.
Yeah, yeah. Especially if you live in an apartment. I mean, they're not going to be happy with their door frame breaking.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, like I was thinking of getting one of these, like, what do you call them? They really can be used for a lot, but they're generally like I guess you call them like racks or like pits, where like you can do squats. There's a bar usually on it. It's like they look like Smith machines, but they're not Smith machines. They're just bars. Um, I don't know. Am I freezing up?
Yeah, you're frozen.
Well, that's just fantastic. It was going so well.
I know.
It was going so well.
It
And I'm frozen in like the worst position ever. What am I doing? What is
You're
that?
doing this.
It's like the Vulcan sign from Star Trek. Ah, man, this is so ridiculous.
By the people, for the people, we have glitches too.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. And it's still stuck.
It's
I'm
bad.
sweat. So basically, I have two pictures. That's essentially what's happening here. Oh Lord, hold on. 1 second. I'm gonna. This is all gonna get edited, possibly. 1 second. Okay, one moment. Okay, I switched over to a different camera, so
Oh,
we should
nice. Okay,
we
perfect.
should be we should be okay. It's not as good as my other one, but at least at least you
Do
can
what we
see me.
can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're working it out slowly but surely. I mean, it's definitely better than Skype. I feel like outside
Yeah.
of that one situation there that happened, it might have been something else. I don't know. Yeah. So, anyways, what other like training equipment do you use besides bands and
Bands
anything unique?
and ankle weights, I guess. Well, I mean, as of right now at home, yeah, I like bands and ankle weights because I live in an apartment, so I
Mm,
don't have a space where I could really turn something into like a gym. I also have
mhm,
dumbbells. Actually, that's a lie. I have a set of 15-pound and a set of 30-pound dumbbells. And I have my yoga mat to do like body weight exercises, so that way I'm not doing
mhm.
it strictly on wooden floor.
Yeah.
Um, to me, like I understand some people prefer a flat surface, but to me, if there's no cushion underneath the floor like there is at a studio or at a gym, then it's really hard on your joints. So I prefer
Mm,
to have my yoga mat when I'm doing body weight exercises, not even just doing yoga. I
yeah.
used to have access to kettlebells, but I think those got lost in my move as well.
Oh man, I was looking for some kettlebells. Kettlebells get really expensive.
I
Like they can get super expensive.
Yeah, I had a 5-pound one and a 10-pound one, and I would do when it was before I had my ankle weights. So that's what I would do. I would like literally put it over my shoe and like do glute kicks, donkey kicks, and things like that.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
I have the weights now, so you can literally just put it behind your knee and do things that way too.
Mhm,
I've been doing deadlifts and
yeah.
like elevated squats and stuff like that with them. What
Yeah.
else do you have at your
S-
home
s-
gym?
So I haven't. So the things that we bought. So this isn't like equipment, but I bought some flooring like for the garage, because that's where I'm going to be, instead of just doing it on hard surfaces. And then one thing that is, so this is mainly my wife wanted this, and I'm probably going to start using it, but I don't know what you call it. I can't remember the name, but it's like it's a, it's like half of one of those like medicine ball type of things. Like it's half. It's not like the full. It's like,
Is it a Bosu ball?
yes, that's it.
I
That's it.
love
Yeah.
those.
Yeah. So she really wanted one, and so I went and got one. But I think I'm gonna start using it too.
Yeah, those are so good, especially if you flip it over and you try to squat on it.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So that we have that. Then the other thing, I've already had this. I've been using it. So it's Slamball. You know what Slamball is?
Oh yeah.
Is I mean, that's the name kind of gives it away, but basically just slam it. I mean, that's all you do. So it's a ball that you slam. I mean, but
I have a degree. No, I'm just kidding.
but yeah, so that, and let me see. I mean, I've got a couple of bags, like a tie bag, and I don't
Like,
know if you're aware. Yeah, yeah, and then like a
uh,
bag that's on the ground. So like I I have this 130-pound bag that I've been filling up with sand and stuff, and this is my first go on it. Apparently, you're supposed to kind of mix it in with like clothes and like material to make it a little bit softer. Did not know that. So it's full of sand. Yeah, it's like rock. Yesterday, it like I filled it up to the end and then tied it up, and it fell over. And I tried, and I didn't realize how heavy it was. So as it was falling over, I tried to catch it,
oh,
and I was like, oh, I can catch this. It's a bag, right? Like, I mean, I'm not a like I can lift some weight, a little bit of weight. So I'm like, oh, this is nothing. I literally put my arms around it and went down with it, like as it fell. I was like, well, I guess I'm not. And then I tried to roll it, can't roll it. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna
yeah, just cut it open and then tape it up. That's what they do
probably.
with punching bags, you just duct tape it to fill.
Yeah, that's it. And so like what I'm the other option besides, gutting it, it would be I was thinking of like putting like bars under it and then like leveraging it up to make it roll. I don't know. I'm kind of an engineer. I'm, sort of, not really. Um
So what do you use like do you use any kind of weight like when you're at the gym? Do you use any kind of belts whenever you're lifting heavy? Like
so
what
so so ideally I would, and I do when I remember it. Terrible um terrible to imitate me. I forgot what the word is. Sorry, English second language. So you don't want to do what I'm doing, which is not wearing the belt all the time. But I did get one. I do wear it sometimes, especially when I'm like lifting like super heavy squatting and deadlifts.
yeah.
I'll try to put it on if I remember. But I mean, you always want to wear it. Don't follow what I do. You always want to wear a belt, for your back whenever you're
That's
lifting it.
interesting because there was this Instagram account where this guy was basically crapping all over people who
Hmm.
wear their belt all the time. So it's
Well,
interesting, like as to like to see
yeah.
that you should, and then and I got mad at that guy. I was like, look, whatever people want to do in the gym,
Sure, sure.
let them do it.
Sure. I mean, do you have to wear it all the time? I mean, if you're doing lighter weights, you don't have to. But I mean, I think a lot of times people just put it on and they don't want to take it off. I'll tell you, put it on, off, on,
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
So they'll leave it on for their entire routine because they know they're going to be lifting some heavy weights at some point. So what's the point of constantly taking it off? Um, I think that guy's probably just in his feelings. So.
And then I noticed that you do a lot of cardio when you can. So do you have any specific shoes that you wear on those days? Like,
So yeah, so these shoes are kind of they're kind of like I hate to recommend them, not because they're not good. They're good. They're just kind of like tend to be because I'm also thinking about the people. Like everybody doesn't have a ton of money to spend on shoes. These are like 130. I got some Under Armour Project Rock shoes, and they're very comfortable and they're good and they're super durable and I really love them, but they are like 130
so
bucks.
they're like
So
more of an investment.
right, yeah, for
Like,
sure, for sure, for sure. And what I would do, I mean, I don't know if some people might not have this issue. I know I do, and like my wife does too. Um, my feet tend to hurt after a while, so I get like those Dr. Scholl's like inserts, and I'll put them in all my shoes because that's super like helpful for me. Like it makes my shoes last longer too. You know.
that's smart to do with any shoe, not even just like lifting wise. Like when I
Hmm.
was in sales, I used to do that for like my heels and everything.
Sure.
Like, I feel like everyone should should do that
Yeah.
no matter what shoes they
Yeah.
have.
I mean,
Do
I think it's helpful. Like I really do because it's before I never bothered with it, but once I started doing them, like putting those inserts in, like I never stopped. I'm basically doing all my shoes. So
you have any specific like lifting shoes that you use, or do you use the same Under Armour ones?
pretty much the same. Back in the day, I used to like switch it up. Like I would wear like the what do they call them? Chuck Taylor's type of
Oh, the
shoes.
con-
Yeah, like, and I mean those are good. People wear them. They're flat, so like for like squatting and stuff, they're good because they keep your feet kind of flat. But again, if you have flat feet, that's probably not the best shoe for you to wear. So,
yeah, yeah.
but how about you?
For me, I don't know. It's hard because I suffer like whenever I do any kind of running cardio, um, I have to have some extra like cushion because I have a tendency to land too hard on my heel
Hmm.
whenever I'm running, and so it'll result in shin splints. Like I
Oh
was
yeah, yeah,
noticing it the other day. Just even I walk my dog for an hour and a half every day, so I'll walk her 30 minutes here, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. But it's more of like a power walk. But I was even noticing that I was coming down too hard on my heels and like my shins were killing me. So I use like I don't know the exact name, but I use Nikes. They're pretty up there too. I think they were like $150. But the other shoes that I
yeah.
use for lifting that are also flat are Vans. And depending on which Vans you get, they can be like from anywhere from 40 to $60, which is that's super cheap, at least to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
And then I also really like using Fila's on my upper
Hmm.
body. So, like there's just like so much support there, and I feel like I don't know for whatever reason it just makes me feel more comfortable to have a little bit of cushion. So I'll switch it up, but mainly I like to use my Vans whenever I go lifting. Then let me pull it up. Actually, they're Nike. I think they might be the Vapor Max.
I think with the Zoom thing, you can actually share. I've been using a different computer as we talk, but
Mm,
I think you can actually share stuff on screen. You might have to utilize that at some point.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're the Nike Vapor Max Plus. So they're $140 at Foot Locker. There was a sale going on when I got mine, and I think they were like 25% off.
Hmm.
So that's what I used, and I've had them for I think like 2.5 years now. I,
Yeah.
I'm a shoe fiend. Like I
Are
seriously, my
you?
entire closet is filled with like kicks.
Well, you are a woman, so I mean, I
It's
imagine.
not even heels though. It's literally sneakers. Like I think I'm the
Okay.
only woman
So
that
you're a
keeps
sneakerhead.
sneakers. Yeah, but I'm always running around in them. Yeah. Is there any?
So, oh, before you go on, I was looking up shin splints and like how to. So they're basically like cut back on impact, exercise, ice the shins, then consider switching shoes or adding orthotics, which is like what we talked about. Be aware of your step rate. See, some of this stuff is like to avoid the injury, you have to stop what you're doing. Like I had this terrible, what do they call it? Like tendonitis in my arm, and it's like, and the basically like just to help it go away, you have to kind of stop training like with it, and it's like, well, you don't want to do that. So it's kind of like you're kind of in this catch 22. So it's the same thing like here with shin splints, but it looks like you can do some other things with it though before
Yeah, I noticed
stopping.
today. Like I actually wore my Vans on my walk today, but I had to go at a way slower pace than I would have normally wanted to do. But it does help a lot, and you just be. It's so weird that you have to be aware. Like you have to be so aware of even how you walk, because that
Hmm.
translates into how you run or how you do sprints. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's kind of interesting to think about. Like, oh, we just walk all the time. No one thinks about how they walk.
Right, right,
Crap, why
right.
do my shins hurt?
Yeah, I think it's so I was watching this thing where you probably aren't aware, but she's a like a 8-time world champion Muay Thai fighter, Miriam Nakamoto, and I was watching, like she was going over some stuff with this guy who does like biomechanics which of the human body. So he showed, obviously with her it's more from an athletic like fighting standpoint, but it works with anybody of any kind of exercise or just even like you said walking in general, and how important it is to have the proper biomechanics, like how to properly step, how to properly like move in, in different directions and so forth, because it's like it's a chain effect all the way up your body. So it's like you have a bad back, you can have an injury based upon like how you step. It's interesting
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
one of my old professors at my university in New Mexico State University, he wrote a book talking about really basically the same thing, and how like an injury in your back can actually result in like an injury in your elbow,
Hmm.
or feeling it in your wrists and things like that.
Yeah.
Like for me, when you were talking about tendonitis, I gave myself tennis elbow from shifting on the cello too quickly,
Mm.
throwing my arm. And it's like you have to realize the way you're doing things, like no matter what. And it's like, who injures themselves playing an instrument? A lot of
Yeah.
people actually, because they're
Yeah.
just so not aware of their body. So I think
So
it's so important.
so what do you do? Like, do you slow down your shift rate? Like, does that affect your music?
Well, you have to think about, like, for me, what I was doing is I was just shifting my arm at the last second. And
Hmm.
that's why it would have to go lightning fast, is because I wasn't preparing it. So
I
what you
see.
do is you already start the movement before the shift actually needs to occur. So it's not a throwing motion. It's like a half, what is it? Like a half circular motion.
Hmm.
You're
Hmm.
just moving up instead of throwing.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I bet, yeah, most people don't realize that. I mean, I had an idea, anything coming from like an athletic background and things of that nature, any movement you do and on a high level, even if you're a musician, it's going to have some consequences, especially if you're not doing it correctly.
Yeah. Have you ever used the kinesiology tape? Have you ever used the KT tape?
Yes, I have. I didn't notice much, but I also did it for a very short time. So I don't know, like, but there's people that swear by it,
I
like,
love it. Well,
yeah.
I don't feel like it helped in a sense, but it made me more aware of those parts of my body that were hurting. So that
Hmm.
way I could connect my mind to those muscles, so that way I would move in a different way. So it
I
helped
see.
me in that sense.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, it helps you. I feel like it does help you map out at least your body and be more
Yeah.
body aware. So I think that's something good if people do think, or if people feel like they're not enough body aware, if they have an injury, perhaps like that's something, in their training gear that they could just keep on hand. Like I still have a bunch of it. I didn't even get through it all, but I
Hmm.
always have it on hand just in case.
Yeah. Speaking of tape, I mean, that's the other thing. If you have like a nagging thing where they can be helped by being taped, you definitely should tape it. I mean, if you have like an ankle issue, but you're going to go train anyway, definitely tape your ankle, like, or whatever else you've got that's
You
possible. What's up? Go ahead.
have you have you ever had like injuries where you've had to use braces and had to incorporate that
Oh
into like
yeah, all the
lifting?
time. Yeah,
And
because I used
we're around, using that and those muscles.
So, I mean, so most of my situations that I had to use like braces and tape things up were from like combat sports, like wrestling and so forth. So, and in that case, like you still have to do what you have to do. You tape what hurts. That's like tape is a miracle. Like it's supposed to, save you or something. I mean, it helps, but
Yeah.
it's not 100%. As far as like weight training, like when I've had knee issues, knees would bother me, and then I would put on like a brace and train with that. Obviously, I mean, they're helpful, they're there for a reason. Majority of those, so if you have like an issue with your knee, the braces are built to support, but a lot of times they're also built not to bend much, because that's how they help you recover. So if you're going with a brace and then you're squatting like a full squat and you're bending the knee, you're kind of like, it's two opposite
Yeah.
schools of thought. Like you're trying to keep your knee from bending to help it recover, but at the same time you're going and bending your knee. So I mean, it's one of those situations, depending how bad it is, you might want to lay off of it, maybe do like isolation movements, things of that nature with lower weight, like we talked about with the bands. That might be an option. You just can't go ham on it, because I mean, then you're gonna really mess it up.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and speaking of braces, and belts, like we were talking about earlier, what do you think about people using sweat belts as their training gear? Not the corsets, but like just the sweat belts, because I don't believe in the corsets at all.
Sweat belts. So how can I put this? Like, So they're helping you sweat, so they're helping you lose water weight. Do they actually help you burn body fat? No, I don't think so. I mean, like, what do you think?
No, I agree. It's good to get your core temperature up. If you're someone that loves to sweat, I love sweating,
Mhm.
and I agree. It totally helps you with your water weight. Like I feel like if you're someone that like gets bloated really easily, or say like you know had your cheat day or whatever, for me, I noticed a difference because I was able to like lean out a little bit more just
Mhm.
because
Sure.
the water weight was coming off of me. But yeah, as far as body fat, like I agree. Like I don't know, I feel like a lot of people, you know, swear by these, you know, waist wraps and sweat belts, but it's like if you're doing a sweat belt in conjunction with the proper exercise,
Mhm.
that's where you're gonna see
Yeah.
obvious results. You know what I
I
mean?
mean, body fat is really comes down to two things. It comes down to like calorie in, calorie out, like the diet portion of it, and then the cardio aspect of it. I mean, obviously there's indirect things like the more muscle you have, the more body fat you'll burn indirectly just from living, um, but if you're talking about direct effect on body fat, not talking about any kind of supplements or anything like that, is just your diet and then cardio. I mean, that's pretty much, the only other options I can think of. Maybe I'm missing something, but you know.
I don't think so. Speaking of that, what supplements do you like? What when I don't know how I want to word this. So like maybe let's talk about it in like several different ranges, I guess. So like what
Yeah,
supplements do you use now versus like did you use supplements when you were first starting slash when you didn't have as much money? Because I know there's different brands of supplements
sure,
that are in different price ranges. So it'd be nice to
sure,
talk about all of that.
sure. So like for me, like when I first started out, I went crazy on the supplements because that's like, that's what I saw in the magazines and so forth. That's what people are promoting, bodybuilders and so forth. So, and it's like a lot of protein, creatine. I mean, basically anything in GNC that I thought might help me, I bought, um, money. Then eventually, like you said, I realized, oh, this stuff can get pretty expensive. And I'm like, is it actually? And then I started thinking and doing more research. I was like, is it really benefiting me? Like, what can I do without? So now, many years later, I'm basically just taking a protein supplement, like a shake, and that's pretty much it. I mean, stuff that works, creatine works. That's it's been around for a long time. It's been proven. It definitely works. It definitely volumizes your muscle. Protein obviously, it's essentially a food supplement. You're taking in protein, so that obviously helps and works. um, you've got your other like things like vitamins, like essential fatty acids, things like that. The fish oil, those, if you want to consider those supplements, then yeah, they're very helpful. But anything else, all this crazy stuff that they're putting out there, um, especially like some of the stuff where they put out like test boosters and things like that nature. I don't believe it. Yeah, I don't believe in them because I really don't think that naturally you can boost your testosterone that much. Like maybe a little bit. And I think if that's the case, then you should probably just eat food that's been proven to boost your testosterone. You know what I'm saying? So
Also boost doesn't exercise boost your testosterone?
yes, it does. On its own, it does. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. How about you? Like, what are you taking now, and as opposed to what you were taking before?
So when I first started lifting, like first started when I was 16 and I was in high school, all I was doing was taking like drinking protein shakes. And you know,
Mm-hmm.
my dad, like I told you, he was in the military for 32 years, so he was freaking jacked. Like
Mm-hmm.
he was like, just drink your protein, just drink your water, like eat right.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, you know. But for me, when I was, you know, that was 10, almost 10 years ago, and every girl
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be skinny.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I didn't really I didn't lift. I just did a lot of cardio.
Right. Right.
But as I've gone through fitness, I've noticed that there are things that actually help me a lot, especially as being a HIIT teacher. Like I was teaching 15 HIIT classes a week. And as you can imagine, that's exhausting.
Oh yeah.
And then I would also take other people's classes. So I did need a little bit of help. And I know right now I'm drinking coffee, but back in the day, I used to never be able to drink coffee. Honestly, it used to make me really tired, but I had an iron deficiency also.
Mm.
So yeah,
That's
it was,
that's a big issue with women. A lot of women have iron deficiency. I don't
yeah.
know if just a food that they eat in general. Like women are not generally big meat eaters, so as a whole, like so I think that could also play a part in it. But
Yeah, and maybe that's something that we can also talk about, on another
yeah,
podcast. It's definitely interesting to see and to know that. But yeah, so I had a huge iron deficiency, and I like was constantly dehydrated. Like it was weird. My body was always running at a really high temperature. Like anytime I'd go to the doctor, they're like, "You're running at like 100 degrees."
mm,
But like I wasn't sick. They were
yeah,
just like, weird because all of your blood tests, whatever, everything's fine, but you're just running at a
yeah,
weird high temperature. Anyway, so the supplements that I found that helped me to like have the energy to get through those classes, I love pre-workout. Like
hmm
pre-workout is awesome. I definitely screwed up the first time I took it. This is not against any like brand at all. I took C4, but I didn't know how to
hmm
take pre-workout because I'm finding this stuff for the first time on my own.
right,
So I took a full scoop my first time. And oh
Mm-mm-mm.
my gosh, I almost had a heart attack. It took my body 3 hours
Yeah,
to regulate itself again after that. And I felt I was shaky, I was sick, I was gonna like vomit. So I was like, okay, like just from that, having that first experience, I was like, okay, I don't want to do that with this brand. But they are an affordable brand and they are really good. Like a lot of people do enjoy C4. Just for me, it was just way too intense. And some people love the face tingles. I used to live for the face tingles. I don't as much anymore. But if
yeah,
you're someone that wants that and C4 is very affordable, I think I got it at Walmart if I'm not
sure,
mistaken. So I mean that's something that's affordable for people who want pre-workout. I do take BCAAs just because for me it helped me a lot with my recovery time because I had to feel good
hmm
and ready to go like within 3 hours time. So I was constantly drinking BCAAs and then obviously protein. I told you my horror story a few weeks back about creatine when I
I
didn't
do.
drink enough water and I thought I was gonna die while I was driving to school. So, but I mean, I do agree, and a lot of women are actually very scared of creatine, which I understand because they think it's gonna make them, super bulky and like
No,
bloated.
yeah,
But if you give it enough time to like cycle itself out or like let your body get used to it, it just for like you said, it develops the volume in your muscles.
hmm
And like I like having big muscles. I don't want to be like super yoked with my like biceps up to
right,
here.
right,
You want to have,
right,
defined abs, defined front quads, hamstrings, etc. So I do believe creatine can be used for everyone.
right.
Currently, I'm getting back on track with drinking my water, so I don't add creatine yet, but I am hoping to
Mm.
add it back in once I start hitting the gym. But that's about it. The brand I used to use was Beyond Raw, but they're kind of like up there in price
hmm
for like everything. I used to swear by them. I had their pre-workout, BCAAs, and protein. Like it's a delicious line. Like the flavors are really good, the
hmm
quality is really good, and it lasts for a really long time. But for me personally, like I said, I stopped wanting the face tingles, and like that's what their pre workout would do. And then their BCAA lines, like for me, I stopped wanting to have as much sweets in like the way things
hmm
tasted. So I mean, I can handle a little bit of sugar, but it was just like so
Too much. Yeah.
so now I use the Women's Best line, and they're pretty affordable. They're at Vitamin Shop now. They just launched like 750,000 stores in the U.S. with this line, like because they used to be only in Europe and Australia.
hmm
But
Yeah. Interesting.
but
Uh, Go ahead. I'm sorry.
they're like on sale, and so it's a good brand. Like for people who are starting out, you can get like it's buy one get one half off. So
hmm
you can get a good amount of supplements using that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. As I was talking about the creatine thing, I remembered your horror experience with it. That was funny. I'm sure not funny for you as you were going through it.
It's funny to laugh at.
So anyways, the interesting thing about the volumizing your muscles, it's like that's what I it's still crazy to me like what some women think will make you look manly. Like that's such a crazy like concept. Like they think that by lifting weights you'll look manly. That now you're saying like by taking creatine you're gonna have like incredible muscle, like muscle development. I mean, it's volumizing your muscles. It's not putting like new muscle on. So it's like you're not gonna all of a sudden grow like 100 pounds. It's like
That's so funny.
yeah. So, but yeah, but that's funny to me. And it's also funny when like you hear people talk about it, like, oh, I used to think like it would make me man. Then I started weightlifting, and I realized like, if anything, it makes me look more feminine because
Yeah, of course.
you get a shape. If you didn't have one before. So yeah, very true.
Yeah, it's definitely funny to hear the like myths
Hmm.
about things. I just think too it's hard because a lot of women don't get educated with like weightlifting and the gym. So a lot,
Hmm.
like myself included, and this isn't to like put any kind of women down or anything. I just think a lot of women just get scared because they don't know
Hmm.
what to do when they go in. They want to look a certain way, but they don't know how to achieve that. And then they just see all of these super buff dudes like running
Right.
the gym doing the same exercises they thought they wanted to do. So
Right.
too in their head, they're like, well, if I do that, then I'm gonna like be built like that man.
Right. Right. Right.
So I think it's definitely difficult there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's you have to remember like men and women are biologically built different.
Oh yeah.
There's so I mean we might be doing the same things, but we're not say different. Different results are going to happen. So, but anyways, sounds like a podcast, another podcast. We've been kind of like all over the place, but
That's
back,
okay. I think it's good.
yeah, I think so too. I think so too. But
I was gonna
uh,
ask you, like, do you
what's
have
that?
any specific, not that like you care about looking like cute at the gym, but is there any
Oh,
specific, is there any specific like active wear that you as a man wear to the gym, like as far as shorts are concerned, compression shorts, like shirts
sure.
that are like, do you use like the sweat wicking shirts? Like, what do you use?
Sure. So I have to be honest. I am the probably the worst person to ask about that because I do not care about my clothes whatsoever. But there are men that obviously do because I see them at the gym. They're there. They're there. And but however, I will say that like wick material is pretty good. Like especially for like cardio and things like that because if you really want to get a good sweat going, it's like if I feel like when I did wear it, like I got a really good sweat going with that stuff. um have you ever tried like little off topic but still close, have you ever tried like sauna suits and stuff like that?
I've never actually tried a sauna suit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
then that'll
I'm
make you
scared that
sweat.
I would just like, I don't know, I'm already a naturally like internally heated person.
You're just gonna
I'm
like
scared that I would just like be
ignite.
screaming in my sweat.
You're just gonna catch on fire like somebody's.
Yeah, at that point, yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I'm
So
not
I'm
like
just curious because men have certain things that women do not. So that's what I was saying, like as far as at least like shorts or sweatpants go, if there was anything specific that you use.
I can't think of anything. That's I mean, generally it's just like shorts and a tank top, usually at the gym. Um, for me, um, how about you? I guess.
Um, Yeah, for me, like there's obviously different ranges of like all of the gear that women can
Right, right.
from. Amazon has a lot of really good leggings that are squat proof because that's very important at the gym. Like I don't know, some people like having see-through leggings. I personally do not, but there's really good leggings on Amazon, at American Eagle. I don't really like to use Nike just because for me that I don't know. I like their jackets like this, but other than that, like their leggings for me aren't it. And
Hmm.
and so like I just personally don't like to use their stuff. It's just like too tight. And for me, I feel like I'm gonna rip my pants. Like even
Hmm.
if I go up in a size, then it's too big. But if I go down into the other size, I feel like I'm gonna rip my pants when I go squat. So
Right.
you want to be able to have a lot of room to like let yourself breathe and have something still be comfortable. But yeah, or like the more upscale brands like Lululemon for your leggings, a lot of girls use that.
Sure. Sure.
And I don't know. I work for a yoga brand, so I'm very lucky. They give me
They give
free,
you stuff. Awesome.
yeah, sports bras and leggings. So if you use my
Yeah.
name Sierra10 at movenaked.com, get 10% off of your order with that.
Shameless plug. Shameless
Shameless
plug.
plug, but they're good. It's good, and it's actually
Yeah.
eco-friendly. So that's the nice part is they're made out of recycled water bottles. So
Mm,
that's also a
interesting.
really big plus. I really appreciate that too in training gear. A lot of what's it called? A lot of brands are making the shift to become eco-friendly, which I think is
Yeah.
super important, especially because athleisure and gym clothes are still very much in style. So
Hmm.
if we're going to be spending a good chunk of change on what we're going to be working out in, it has to be durable, and it should like somehow in some way benefit the planet. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, no, I think that's great. That's a great thing. As far as like some of the leggings, I from a man's point of view, I like they're good and I see the benefit of them, but I do see where you're coming from where stuff is like gets too tight or too see-through and then it becomes like a exactly, it becomes a distraction. I mean, it obviously becomes a distraction for men. It can be a distraction for everybody, even women, if it's like people are constantly just looking at you, you know what I'm saying, at the gym. It just, it can be too much. By no means am I somebody to tell somebody how to live, but personally, yeah, I think like there's a line, there, and once you cross that line, it kind of gets like a little sketchy. But yeah, anyways, so
No, so that's why I just wanted to offer things that are, very thick,
right.
but also affordable. There's leggings on Amazon for $20 that are incredible.
Sure. Yeah. Well, now Amazon's gonna be a huge marketplace. If I mean it was already huge, now it's even gonna be more huge because of all the corona things and everything closing down. So
Whew, yeah,
yeah,
crazy.
we're getting more and more cases here in Nashville. More and more cases. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of nurses are getting pulled to go do testing, like at tents and stuff like that, because they want all hands on deck. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, but anyways, so I think we did like probably what, like a 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Mhm.
Hopefully it's recorded. That would be
It
great.
was recording on my screen too, so
Okay.
we're good.
Okay, awesome. Cool. All right, well, Sierra, thanks again. I'll
Yeah,
catch
thank
you
you.
in
And
a
just
few days.